Hi, how are you? This is Gigi reporting from the Townsend Festival. I tried to go live on a couple of platforms. I'm not sure if it's working because of the cell signal out here, so I'm just going to make this video for myself and then share it to the different platforms. I am really disappointed in the Port Townsend Victorian Heritage Festival today. I was sitting down having wine with some friends. This is the second day of the festival, and that friend related to me that they walked in the fashion show, and they are a black woman. They walked in the fashion show, and two people ahead of them was announced a Confederate soldier, or someone who is dressed as someone from a Confederate battalion from Louisiana, which I'm from Louisiana. Awesome. They chose to dress in Confederate clothing and walk in this fashion show, and this organization chose to let them. Maybe not understanding that that is akin to having a woman walk 2 spaces behind someone who's dressed as a rapist, or a Jewish person walking 2 spaces behind someone dressed as a Nazi, right? Confederacy meant death to me. Confederacy meant I am not a human because I am black. I should be enslaved. I should be raped. I should be murdered at will because I'm not a real human being. That is what Confederacy meant. This woman of color still walked in the talent show, or the fashion show. She did her job for this festival. She basically co-signed on their efforts of inclusion with her presence. But she was terrified. Her cortisol went up. Her adrenaline went up. Her trauma response, her epigenetics was telling her, maybe this isn't safe for me, because they would let someone like that, who means death to me, be here. So she said that to me just at brunch, right? Just at, we're sitting around drinking wine, eating pizza. I said, well, what can I do? What can I do in this? What would you do in this situation? So I said, well, let me just go. I'm in Port Townsend. I'm here for the festival. I'm dressed in amazing. Look at my bustle. Oh, can you see my bustle? You can. I was like, let me just go talk to them. Maybe they don't understand how impactful this type of thing is to people of color. So I've tracked down Val, who is the woman who narrated the fashion show. And then I tracked down Scott, who is the co-chair of the organization that runs the entire festival. And I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go talk to Val and Scott. So I went down to the contra dance tonight. Across from the contra dance, Val was in her hotel room. She said, come and talk to me. And I did. And she was very receptive. Val was like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it like that. I never realized that could be a problem. That's horrifying. We should do better. I'll try to figure out a way to do better. Maybe give me your information. I'll read about your organization, Customers of Color. And I'll talk to my organization about how we can never let this happen again. And I was heartened by talking to Val. I was like, okay, well, it was just an oversight. They didn't understand it. Even though they had his information ahead of time and allowed him to walk, it just didn't click because they're white. And they never thought about how this would come off to a person of color. And so then I walk over to the contra dance, and I asked at the door to speak with Scott. And Scott is, brought to the door, and he is immediately aggressive. He's immediately, what's the complaint? And I was like, well, there's a young woman who walked in your fashion show who was harmed by the presence of a Confederate soldier, a Confederate battalion member walking. Do you understand how that could be impactful to her? And because your organization purports itself as one of inclusion, this is in direct opposition to that claim. So what can we do in the future to not have this happen? He's like, oh, well, I'll go to the board and I'll tell them 3 to 5 people had a problem with this. And I was like, wait a minute, not just 3 to 5 people, maybe every person of color and every person not of color who is anti-racist or anti-white supremacist or anti-patriarchy or just a good human being might have a problem with this. So not just 3 to 5 people. And he goes, well, I would think that Kalalam Indians, he said, would have more of a problem because, Victorians displaced their whole tribe, and, they would be here. And that's when I realized Scott's not listening to me at all. Scott is ready to dismiss anything I say with his whataboutism about whoever the Indians were that he thinks should be more offended than I am about what happened to this black woman. And he is dismissing me right now in front of him. Okay, Scott, I heard you. And I told Scott I heard him. And then I said, I'm going to walk away. I tried to impart knowledge to you. I tried to give you a point of view and ask you what your organization might do about it. You don't want to do anything about it? Fine, I'm out of your face. I'm going to leave you to talk to these two white women because maybe you can hear it from them. And I walked away. And then those two white women came out very shortly after and said, no, Scott actually went on to talk about how this is his last event. He's not going to be working on the Port Townsend Victorian Heritage Festival anymore. And so what is he supposed to do about it? Because this is his last event. Scott. Disrespectful, dismissive to me. Discourteous to me. So much so that I had to walk away from you. And anyone who knows me will tell you, I can take a lot. I am a very mild-mannered person. I don't get up in arms about a lot. But Scott was hostile. And those two white women I left with him, when they came back and reported that to me, I realized that Scott has no intention of trying to make sure his organization is actually inclusive, as they say. So there's a bike starting. So I'm going to bring you a little closer just to make sure you hear me. Has no intention of signing the actual check and making it available for cashing the check that they're saying that they're inclusive. They're telling you they're inclusive. They're telling you that they want to do the right thing for people of color. They want to welcome people who are different. And then when those people who are different than them come to them and say, hey, this is something you missed. This is something you overlooked. This was harmful. You did harm here. Maybe not do it again. Scott, their representative, says, what do you want me to do about it? I can't do anything. I'm about to clock out. Scott. I will never be back to the Victorian Heritage Festival. I will suggest no person of color or any white person who cares about actual inclusion and equity come to this. Ever. I'm signing off.